Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, let me just say I was proud to join with my colleague Jeff Duncan to introduce H.R. 3783, the Countering Iran in the Western Hemisphere Act, which I'm pleased to say was marked up and passed in the Foreign Affairs Committee earlier this month. The legislation would call for the State Department to investigate Hezbollah's presence in the Western Hemisphere and create a long-term comprehensive strategy for keeping our communities and our nation safe. The purpose of this legislation, or the inspiration, came from hearings in this very committee where expert witnesses had informed our committee that Hezbollah has a presence in the 20-country region of Latin America, but also in 15 American cities, as well as 4 Canadian cities. We were also told in subsequent testimony that we shouldn't be all that concerned about that presence because that presence was, their activities were limited to fundraising. Well, that's not comforting. And I think where there is a presence, there is an intent and there is a severe threat. We all know Hezbollah is a terror organization. They're committed to violent jihad. They act as a proxy for Venezuela, for Syria, and for Iran. And their presence in Latin America could also be viewed as a pervasive presence toward the goal of having a greater presence in North America. I also want to recognize the work of the New York City Police Department. Following, the recommendations of the 9/11 Commission, the New York City Police Department has established itself as probably the most effective counterterrorism organization in the world. It's a difficult balance between keeping the homeland safe and protecting individual liberties, but I think they've done a very good job in that regard. So I'd just like to hear from our witnesses about not only the presence of Hezbollah in the Western Hemisphere, but specifically the threat in North America by their presence.
Thank you, Representative. I think the dynamic that we heard about in North Carolina with this cigarette case, where you had individuals conducting criminal activity, that criminal activity was funding Hezbollah operations or Hezbollah activities overseas by its transmission to Lebanon. You had a population of people who were fundraisers, but at some point in time could be turned into facilitators and ultimately operatives. And the fact that some of these individuals had military training that they had received from Hezbollah in Lebanon. I think all those dynamics that you heard about in that case are all dynamics that map very well to the current situation in New York City. And without going into details about the investigations that we have going on, those map very much in parallel to what we're seeing in terms of the type of people, the type of backgrounds, and the type of activities that are going on.
Yeah, I think what's noteworthy about that case, and I think it's an indication of how Hezbollah operates throughout the U.S., is they're burrowed deep into our society already. They've been around a lot longer than Al-Qaeda and a lot longer than Al-Shabaab and some of the other shiny objects that we're concentrating on now. And I think we need to understand, they understand how to use our financial system. They got an SBA loan, a false loan. They bribed a loan officer. They had credit cards. They understood the financial system, how to exploit the immigration system. So they're well entrenched in society and well positioned to do something or facilitate someone else coming in and doing something and blending in. They can manufacture documents. It's all there and it's all in place. They don't have to make it happen. It's already well in place. The good news is there's 104 joint terrorism task forces across the country, and you got 56 field intelligence groups, and you've got a new preventative mindset out there instead of reacting to what's going on. I think our intelligence community and the FBI and the NYPD and other agencies are out there shaking that tree. I think we're well positioned to know what they're doing.
Mike Chertoff, when he was the Secretary of Homeland Security, in fact, it may have been before this committee, as he had one foot in the door and one foot out, about 4 years ago, testified about the threat posed by terrorist organizations, Middle Eastern terrorist organizations on the United States. And And then Secretary Chertoff said that, we need to maintain the focus on Al-Qaeda, a shiny object, a very shiny object, and a real threat. But he said the real threat is Hezbollah. Hezbollah has what Al-Qaeda could only dream of having. They have established relationships with the most powerful international drug trafficking and organized crime syndicates ever faced by law enforcement, and they obviously maintain close relations with other designated terrorist organizations around our globe. Congressman, whoever told you that Hezbollah is now in 15 cities, I think they woefully underestimated it. Part of the problem that we've got is we don't really know. That's what worries me a great deal. Congressman Lundgren, you brought out the importance of connecting the dots. That is important, but what we need to get in the business of is actually producing more dots to connect. I think that NYPD is doing just that within the rule of law. That's extremely important, and quite frankly, I think that federal law enforcement could learn a great deal from the NYPD model.